Hello, Scott here, director of the Arcadia project. Welcome to the first of many design deep dive videos. We're starting with the first game I ever designed and built, Tonal Recall. Now, when I started Arcadia, I was playing a lot of mandolin, which required me to read sheet music. I was okay at it, but I felt like there were not a lot of good ways to practice for beginners that wasn't just playing scales. I thought about how I learned how to type on a keyboard when I was a kid, a couple keys at a time, adding more as I got better at it. It seemed like a good place to start. Now, I came up with 4 music game designs with the same basic progression ideas. I chose Tonal Recall mostly because it seemed like the simplest, but also because it was the easiest to explain. Everyone knows how to play the memory game Simon. Let's take a look. So step 1 is the system creates a random sequence of notes. Step 2 is I play the sequence back. See, pretty simple. After I've played one sequence, then it'll add another note and keep adding more as we go. So there are some subtleties. The first 3 notes are always pulled from these 3 middle keys, and the longer the sequence gets, more notes are added to the pool of options. This is the central tenet of Arcadia design philosophy. Start as simple as possible and then earn complexity as you go. My first iteration of this game had a more complex progression system that I eventually stripped out for several reasons. Originally, I had a more level-based mindset, where a new player would have only these 3 notes unlocked, and then the rest of these would be grayed out. They would have to memorize a 7-note sequence, which would then unlock this blue one, which is the E note. Then they'd have to memorize 8 notes and unlock A, and then so on. Once you've unlocked all the notes, you could play the treble key, or treble clef, and then once you've done that whole sequence again in treble, you would unlock bass, and then black and white mode in all of the different clefs. In some ways, this was a more satisfying way of playing it because you unlocked features, which conveys a sense of accomplishment as you feel like you're getting something as you play it. But the downside is that once you've unlocked all the notes, the difficulty is now raised permanently, which is not particularly helpful if you're a beginner or you take a long break from the game. It also raises the issue of needing to save all that progress data somewhere, which wasn't a big deal at first, but when you intend to add 60 games using the same database, it becomes an organization problem. And ultimately, arcade games don't have unlock modes. You just play. So I think of the mezzo clef, that's this one right here, as the beginner mode, since musicians rarely use it, which is why it doesn't have any black keys. When you select treble or bass, that's treble and this one's bass, the game will open up in an open key, which means anything goes. I usually like to play in a specific key because it sounds more like a real song. One thing you'll note about playing in a key is that it doesn't start with the same 3 notes. This is mostly just because playing a key is a little bit easier. All the key of D means is that only some of these notes are going to be used. Instead of C, which is this one, you get a C sharp. Let's see how far I can get. I think I've already forgotten what the original... was it? Oh, okay. Oh, shoot. Okay. You can see I have a pretty high score in the key of D because that's the one I play the most often when I'm testing music games. I don't have a very high score in Tonal Recall. That's mostly because this game is probably about 5 years old, and I've played it about 1 billion times for testing purposes, so I'm pretty confident it works. But now that the scores have all been reset across all of Arcadia, I don't really have time to be playing this game all the time because there's all these other games I have to work on. I play a lot, you can see lately, in the treble clef, the key of D, and then other music games. So let's see how I do at the hardest difficulty level. Treble clef, black and white mode, open key. It's probably going to be a bloodbath. So you can see it's starting with the the bottom. See, it's not as melodic as it is if you're in a key. Oh man. Okay. Obviously, I need to work on this. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more design deep dive videos in the future. In the meantime, keep practicing.